You'll never know how you'll grow, who you'll meet, and what they know. Right here on the Friends with Jar show.
Okay, so hi, I'm Jada Burnett. I am from Fort Worth, Texas, and my major is biology, and I also film for the football team, and I travel with them as well and record games and practices.
Wait, Jada, don't just throw it out there like all you do. You do what, Miss Jada? Say it again.
I record for the football team, and I also record their practices and games.
Now, Jada, what is that experience exactly like?
It's actually kind of fun. I mean, sometimes it gets a little hot during practices. They practice from 4 to 6, so I record the offensive team, and I record from 4 to 6, or sometimes we go a little bit over, but I mean, only probably about 10 minutes, and that's okay. But usually, I just pack the equipment, I set it up like during games, or I have Mr. Giles also help me. He's the head of the filming, and we'll set that up. We get the cameras charged, we get the memory discords, and that's just for practice. But for traveling, we just pack it up and we get on the bus, and we have the time. Sometimes I video by myself for the games, and that's fun. I mean, sometimes until I have to go to the restroom, but I mean, it's pretty cool. Highly recommend getting some more filmers out there.
Okay, and I think I could agree with that too because from what I'm looking at, Jada, it looks like it's millions of dollars being just thrown into the NIL league. Is that correct?
I believe so. Yes, there are many people I want to say getting paid to play football on scholarships.
Oh, now, so here's the thing, right? So we got the scholarships, right? And honestly, that's how it has always worked for football. Like, oh, complete our school, we'll give you free room and board and, come play with us. But now, with the NIL money, from everything that I'm understanding, girls, some people are getting like hundreds of thousands of dollars and they're like 18. And then others are getting like almost like $1 million and more. How do you think, some of that NIL money would just have benefited your overall student experience?
Honestly, like with my tuition, my books, having to pay for books all the time, that kind of puts me in a drought sometimes. I just feel like some of that should have been donated back to the school, or they could have gave back in some sort of way. So I really wouldn't have to worry about my tuition or my meal plan, or something could be cheaper.
You right, girl. So y'all get all this NIL money. Give me some. I need money for this semester. But I get where you're going, with that. So money to the students, even though it's directly for the student, that one player, I definitely do agree. Funds should be allocated back into, the school, maybe other departments or something, but definitely something has to change. Now, let me ask you this. Can you please talk about your experience at Texas Southern, and just how your degree, you said you have a science degree, right?
Mhm.
So, I mean, you're in science, but you're doing football filming. Like, do those two things go together, or, what are you thinking?
No, those actually don't go together at all. Yeah, I want to become a doctor, but at the same time, my dad, he put me out there when my brothers were younger, and he was just like, hey, film them playing basketball or football. So I kind of just knew how to film, and then I filmed in high school, and then I filmed my brothers in middle school, elementary. But I mean,
And your family has just always been engulfed in
yes.
football.
Yes.
So what exactly is NIL? NIL stands for name, image, and likeliness. And it refers to college athletes and the ability to be able to make money off of themselves. So here's the biggest issue. Is the NIL a big deal? And I mean, how does that affect your son that plays college football or basketball, or your daughter that runs track or plays volleyball? How much money are these students really getting? Well, I'm just going to tell you about five people. Bronny James, number one. But, I mean, come on. That's LeBron's kid, right? 7.5 mil. Ark Manning, 3.7 mil. Mikey Williams, 3.6 mil. Caleb Williams, 3.2. Olivia, 3.2. The point is that NIL is literally giving out money to college athletes. Now, here's what I want to know. Does that affect where they go to college? And if so, is that even fair? You know what? I know for a fact that I don't know. So I've reached out to a few people that can definitely help this process. So here's the biggest issue. Is the NIL a big deal? And I mean, how does that affect your son that plays college football or basketball, or your daughter that runs track or plays volleyball? How much money are these students really getting? Well, I'm just going to tell you about 5 people. Bronny James, number one. But, I mean, come on. That's LeBron's kid, right? 7.5 mil. Ark Manning, 3.7 mil. Mikey Williams, 3.6 mil. Caleb Williams, 3.2. Olivia, 3.2. The point is that NIL is literally giving out money to college athletes. Now, here's what I want to know. Does that affect where they go to college? And if so, is that even fair? You know what? I know for a fact that I don't know. So I've reached out to a few people that can definitely help this process get exactly where it needs to be. And right now, we actually have a parent who's been affected by these NIL rules as it relates to, man, Miss Parker, I don't want to take over, Miss Parker. Please tell us what's going on.
Well, thank you for having me firstly. And yeah, just diving right into it. You briefly told me about what the show was going to be about, and the NILs. I think that there is some fairness to them, and how it breaks down. Both of my children, I'll give you a little bit of backstory. I have twins, and both of them they run track, so both of them play sports in some section, and both of them have been offered an NIL, but they're significantly different in the offer. And my boy, his offer is a lot bigger, but I think that that's fair because the audience that shows up for him is a little bit bigger, and I think that the same applies when you look at the difference between women's basketball and men's basketball, or the difference between the sexes in the sport. I think that that's a big deal because not everybody brings the same amount of eyeballs attraction, and those things have to be considered. You got to pay these kids what they worth. My babies is both out there sweating and giving their best, but at the end of the day, they working for what? You know what I mean? And so you got to give the reward that matches the effort, and so that's how I feel. I think that I love the opportunity that it's creating, because both of them, are blessed with opportunity at this moment. So I'm grateful. And I think that people just need to look at the bright side of it and see the blessing in it, because it's a lot of kids with opportunities now. We grew up in a world where there weren't that many opportunities, and now these kids are able to make a way for their family.
Now, Ms. Parker, I would like to ask this, okay? So, and I'm not sure but I just do want to go ahead and tell you, like, LeBron's son is out there, and his NIL, contract, of course, is $7.5 million, which is a lot. Now, there are other students, at different colleges who are being offered $1 million, who are just as good. So then the question becomes, do you think, this is something, that should be capped? Because, I mean, if your twins both get offered, millions of dollars tomorrow, then you're not over, the money. So what happens?
Well, I think that, LeBron's son is a rare case because of the brand behind it. So, of course, they're going to pay top dollar because you get so much attention just because of who his father is, so that's a rare case. But when it comes down to people that's making a name for themselves. You know, because that's most of them. It's very rare that you're grandfathered into a situation and you just walked into the room and you automatically the best because of who you around. Most of these kids are working for everything they got. Most of these kids are up in the morning time 2 and 3 hours before their peers because they need to train, you know, or they need to get ready or do some type of. These kids are committed in a different way, and I think that the reward for that, you know, I don't necessarily think that it should be capped, you know, because if you give a child the opportunity and you give them, you know, this large sum to work for and this contract it's like reaching a dream. You know, it's like putting fuel on a fire. It's like when you hit those milestone moments, they'll encourage you to go even further. And like I said, these are ordinary kids that's working to provide for their family. So that's important.
Wow. You've said a mouthful. That was definitely a different perspective. And I appreciate you so much more than you know. I simply do appreciate you for your perspective. Is it anything else you would like to add, just to kind of maybe leave a little bit of encouragement, for some of those, high schoolers out there, like just anything?
Yeah, man, I just want to say I'm proud of you, because I see my babies in so many of their peers, and I'm just proud of you. If you are working and you giving it your all and you waking up every day committed, you doing a damn good job.
Thank you so much. I have a very good friend of mine, Justin. Now, Justin started off at University of South Alabama, where he was literally a student sports broadcaster. From there, ESPN loved him so much after his intern, they even hired him to work there. So, without further ado, I have Justin.
I believe my knowledge for the NIL, you have to look at everything. You can't look at just from the player's perspective or just from the coach's perspective. You need to see how it's going to work with agents, because players need to hire agents and hire lawyers and things like that, understanding that the money that you get will be taxed. So it's not like you're just getting $500,000 to do this commercial. That $500,000 will be taxed. So how much you're getting from that? Those are the things that you have to look at. And you kind of have to also look out for the smaller schools. You and I both went to the University of South Alabama, and that's a smaller school compared to the University of Alabama or Ohio State or USC. Those are the bigger schools, so they're going to get the better players because they can spend more. And which is the problem with NIL, like I stated before. That's the problem with NIL. It's all about how much can I pay you to come here, instead of when you come here, how can you make your brand better by playing better? So I think, in my opinion, that the NIL, the whole thing, needs to be more of an NFL thing, where it's pay to play. How much NFL is all about what have you done for me lately, and I think the NIL should also, for collegiate sports, need to be like that. Just because you are a big time recruit doesn't mean that you're going to pay. That doesn't mean that you're going to play. So you need to be able to perform in order to get, because that's gonna hurt everybody else, right? So that's my issue, and that's not fair. That shouldn't happen. It needs to be what you do on the field determines your success for money, because if you want to get to the next level, that's what's going to count. Because the NFL, after your first contract, they don't pay for potential. They pay for what you do. Just like with any job that we all do here, people pay for what you do. With my job, I pay people for what they do. I don't pay for potential. So we have to understand that as well for NIL. But NIL is fantastic. But that can't be your goal as college athletes. Your goal is to get to the next level. Your goal is to be great in academics so that you'll be able to have a backup plan if your first plan doesn't go well. That should be your goal. NIL comes because you do well on the field or on the court or wherever you play. That should be your main goal. I believe that the NIL helps college athletes tremendously because it shows who they are as people, not something behind the helmet or just based off of being on a court. It shows them as human beings, and it helps promote their brand. And I believe that is a tremendous thing. The problem with NIL is that too many people are paying players to come to the school instead of letting the players grow their brand. And I believe that's the issue right now that we're facing with the NIL. But college athletes getting paid is fantastic, especially legally. So that's a great thing, but you have to be able to do the things the right way. So hopefully they'll come together and figure out a better plan to give people NIL deals, because now it's just the rich getting richer, especially for the bigger colleges. All in all, the NIL is fantastic, right? It's great. Young people are getting paid because they're doing a lot of the lead work and a lot of the stuff. And it's a lot of them are getting paid more than coaches, which is, great, fantastic. But at the end of the day, these are still students. They're still young people. And so they need to have the right people representing them, because you don't want to get somebody off the street or some family member that you think that is good with money. You need to get people that are good with money. You need to get investment people. You need to get lawyers. You need to get all those things in order to understand what you're supposed to do. Bryce Young from Alabama, he did it correctly. He had a plan together, had people in place and doing all these things. That's why he led the nation in NIL money, because he knew what he was doing. He had, obviously great family members to help lead him in the direction of picking good people in his group. But that's what you want. Not every athlete has that. Not every person has that. So in order for the NIL to be successful and for everybody to get it, because it's supposed to be name, image, and likeness for everybody, there needs to be some type of rule where every state can understand, like, this is the rule, right? Because right now it's just a bidding war, as I stated before. The rich get richer. The Alabamas, the Georgias, the Ohio States, the USCs, the Clemsons, they all are getting richer because they can pay more. But the little guys, the University of South Alabama, the UABs, the North Texas of the world, Houston, those are all smaller schools that can't get the bigger names because they don't have the collectives.
And you guys, that is it. I really do hope you found somewhere for your degree to fit in. And if you didn't, you will. It'll fit in somewhere. Thanks for listening.
You'll never know how you'll grow, who you'll meet, and what they know. Right here on the Friends with Jar show.